Azimio team needs to be able to ask themselves, of what importance are the demonstrations? Because, like, if we go by what was being said last Monday, that about 2 billion shillings has been lost in just that one day. It's not the people. You think you're hurting the owners of those industries. No, you're hurting their workers, because what that person will do is just downsize and expect the people who are remaining to work twice as hard, and it's either work twice as hard or leave. So I'll end up, much as I'm saying maybe I'm supporting the demonstrations, I will end up either without a job or working twice as hard to be able to earn the little that I was earning before, right? And that means it's going to hurt Kenyans. So if they're saying that they're helping Kenyans, in actual sense, they're going to actually still be hurting the same Kenyans. When you say boycott certain private entities, you're not just hurting the owners because you're thinking, if we boycott, then they're not going to be able to make profit. But then there are many ways that companies can be able to readjust. And one of the ways is always going to be redundancies. We've seen that happen in the last couple of years. So what we're going to be seeing here, and you'll ask me this in the next 2, 3, 4 months, we're going to see companies begin to lay off the same hustlers, the same people that we're saying we're trying to support.
Now, Mr. Jim, just like you said, and Mr. Sikolia has emphasized on that, does Azimio do they have an alternative? But even as Raila Odinga tries to rally his troops together, over the weekend the president was in Kisii County, that is South Nyanza, and even Migori, and we saw the governor of Kisii County, that is one Simba Arati, even the senator, Mr. Richard Onyonka, they attended the president's rally there. They were with him while he was launching development projects. Where does it leave Raila Odinga? Because even as the demonstrations happened last week, there were no demonstrations in those parts of the country. Where does it leave Raila Odinga?
So unfortunately, Raila Odinga doesn't need demonstrations everywhere in this country. I mean, Azimio, they don't need demonstrations everywhere. They just need demonstrations in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu. That's all they need. The other pockets of the country, they're significant. They're significant, but in terms of their contribution to the GDP of the country, you hold the 3 cities which generally control the GDP of the country, because demonstrations are about, if you think about the art of war politically, then the demonstrations are a weapon for create as much economic sabotage as possible to force your aggressors into the negotiation table. That's all it's about, because if you want government to listen, you hit them where it hurts most. And where does it hurt? In the pocket. You hit the money. So if you want government to listen, how do you ensure that you're able to strangle as much money that they're able to collect every day? Because if they can't collect money, they can't deliver on public good. So all you need is just the 3 cities. The rest of the country, there can be a few people carrying leaves here and there just for you guys in the media to show that the demonstrations happened everywhere in the country. But all you need is the 3 cities.
I'm talking in terms of the likes of Simba Arati, because Simba Arati has been a very vocal supporter of Azimio Moja and Raila Odinga. But again, in that meeting, I said, you'll also try and talk to Raila Odinga and maybe advise him on sitting down with President William Ruto, or bowing to pressure, because it's sort of they're all pulling to different directions. Can that happen?
But remember, Simba Arati is now a governor. Yes. A lot of our politicians use riots and public meetings to gain political mileage. He no longer needs the political mileage. He's already a governor of Kisii County, and he's now heading. We have 48 governments. He's now heading one of those, governments in Kisii County. And you realize that as someone who's heading government, the optics there are different. The ball game is different. You can no longer become the grassroots mobilizer that he was when he was member of parliament for Dagoretti North. You now have a whole government to run. You have cabinet, members of cabinet, CECs. You have a legislative arm of your side that's looking at you, and so it's a different ballgame, and he has to play it differently. As Enoch was saying, he's now relying on the revenue allocation between the 2 levels of government. He's relying on receiving funds from the government. So it's in his best interest as governor now. He has to carry himself with a bit of decorum. It's the same way we would ask, How come you're not hearing Kipchumba Murkomen speak as vocally and as loudly about these demonstrations? Or you're not hearing the current Minister for Defense being as vocal as they used to? It's just because they occupy different offices. Those offices now call for a bit of decorum. They call for a bit of you behaving in a certain way. But I hear what you're saying, that it looks like he's losing some of his lieutenants, right? So you have people who now want to register ODM Asili, ODM Pia, ODM Kenya, whatever those things are. You have the likes of Jalango who are openly saying, we want to chart a new path. You have the member for Ugenya saying the same thing, that we want to chart a new path. And that's healthy in a democracy, I would say. That's very healthy. It's something that we've not seen for a long time. We've seen people being whipped into one direction, that the president can whip all members of UDA into one direction without anyone having dissent. That's not healthy for any democracy. In any democracy, we need that even within political parties, that there can be dissenting opinions and dissenting views, and we encourage that. So I think those members of parliament and governors who are saying, look, and you've had even the Trans Nzoia governor saying, come on, there might be a different way for us to do this. You've seen in Mombasa, Abdul Samad, we've not seen what we are seeing in Nairobi last week, and probably we won't see it this week. They're saying maybe we need to do things differently, and that's healthy for any democracy, and it needs to be encouraged.